to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibilities to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the
United States of America and to the
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to everyone here. Roll call when you're ready.
Mrs. Lingo,
Here.
Mrs. Moody, Mr. Parsons.
Here.
Mr. Redding,
Here.
Mrs. Dosa, Mr. George,
Here.
Ms. Sheets.
Here.
Okay, we have two people absent. Miss Moody is out because of a death in the family, and Keisha, I think, is going to be here, you said, a few minutes later. So would someone like to excuse Miss Moody?
I'll make a motion to excuse Miss Moody and Miss Dosa.
Okay, Mr. George has made a motion to excuse both.
Second.
Absent, resident. Seconded by Denise. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. You have the minutes before you. I'm going to roll back to September 7th. Minutes of the September 7th packet was in your packet. And we had tabled these minutes at our last meeting for a correction, was it? I don't remember.
Yes, it was a correction to Ordinance 21-1963 and Ordinance 21-1964 for a discussion that was had, particularly on 63, on how it was going to be funded and what would happen if, after the audit in January, that they found we couldn't use the money as we thought. And I believe that that discussion, summary of that, should be in the ordinance. I don't think we always have to have when we've asked questions and things like that during ordinances, but I think that's a big deal, and I think it should be recorded in our minutes.
Okay. So are we all satisfied with what is in this one?
Well, it's missing in here, so the addition would be 63. That there was a discussion that the money would come partly from the COVID money plus other monies in the general fund. And if we found after the audit that we're not allowed to use the money for an ambulance with the COVID money, that it was stated that we could possibly sell the ambulance.
Okay, then I need to ask why, if it's not in here, which I didn't read it. We haven't accomplished anything from our tabling 2 weeks ago. So I don't know what's,
Well, whatever they would like
I
to
think
add in.
we tabled it for
Oh.
discussion tonight,
Yeah.
and in my opinion, it's not appropriate to put that language in. It has been our practice not to do things like that, even in some of our most contentious litigation that the White Castle and the Family Dollar Store. We had weeks and weeks of discussion on that, and we didn't include it. Robert's Rules of Order say minutes should be as brief and as possible, and notice Robert's Rules of Order actually say you should not put the conversation or the discussion around the ordinance in the minutes.
And I don't disagree with that, but I think that this is a critical issue that if we need to come back, and if in the audit it says, and Scott has done a great job of sending me information, but the question is not about the funding in my mind. It's if it happens, there will be no record of what we can do. And the minutes are a record of the proceedings of council.
what did you find out about comments that you said was made in regards to selling.
I reviewed the meeting, and at 1 hour, 50 minutes, and around 15 to 45 seconds is when the discussion happened, and Bill did talk about that we could sell the ambulance.
Exactly. If worse came to worse, we could sell the ambulance in a minute
Yep.
because they take so long to get. End quote. That was what he said. And that's could. Could is a whole lot different than would, which is what you were saying at the last meeting.
Well, we could wordsmith this to death, but I don't think we want to do that.
Well-
And my point is, I would have not voted for the ordinance if he hadn't said that. And I realize that my vote would not have made a difference.
Well, the city and the finance director will, and the finance committee, who does the budget, will budget this the way we think is proper. And if part of that's ARPA money, then we'll do that. If we get audited and they say, you can't do that, we'll reverse that and we'll pay for it another way. It's going to get paid for, just that minor thing of can we use this money or can't we? I watched the presentation on the ARPA that you had talked about, where they said you can't use this money for an ambulance. But they said if you show that this was lost revenues, this money that they gave us covered lost revenues, you could use it for any governmental purpose. We can use it to pave a road. Why can't we use it to buy an ambulance?
And my point is not about the bill or how the money is spent. It's the discussion and what was spoken about in the meeting. It has nothing to do with, like I said, Scott has done a good job of showing me. I think we've done our due diligence to know that we have the money. But if we don't put that in our minutes, and I don't disagree, I mean, there's with Robert's rules, but you have your minutes to have something to go back on as a record of what happened. If it's not included, there is no record of the discussion. And I'm not saying we have to have it word by word, a short summary of there was a discussion about the funding, and it was stated that through an audit, that we couldn't use the COVID money. There was an opportunity to sell it.
I personally felt like Bill was loosely saying we could sell this thing in a minute if we had to, and I don't think that I don't think it should be included in the minutes.
No, we would never sell it because it took us 10 to 12 months to get anyway. We would find funds in one of our accounts, the fire department account, the general account, to pay for it.
And that's not the issue.
Okay. I think the minutes should stand as they are.
I do too.
Cindy, where do you want to go with this?
Well, I'm not going to approve them like this, but you don't need, I mean, you got enough to pass it, so it doesn't make any difference what I think.
Well, I don't want to get stuck on the minutes here, but, and listening to this, watching the video, can we, as an alternative, can we just add to the minutes, discussed alternative financing if ARP dollars can't be used? Done.
How does everybody feel about that?
How do people feel about a third option? If not,
It's
I'm,
really just making it simple. It's the same option.
yeah. Nope, okay,
Not in my opinion, no.
okay. Well, in the interest of getting this resolved,
Well, we approved these minutes last time, right?
well,
No,
we table
tabled.
it.
Tabled them.
Not been approved.
Make a motion to,
The two minor changes that I had brought up have been made in this revised copy that was in our packet tonight. So I would make a motion to adopt the minutes as reprinted,
Well,
That's revised, or?
as reprinted, revised, yeah.
I think there's another, if you look on page 3, second line. It says,
Too many questions.
in agreement with needing an ordinance, was behind the drafting process of the last ordinance. There were too many questions, and I think that should be TOO, not TWO.
Yeah.
Is that all you had, Joe?
Yes, sir. So with that, I guess I'd like to make a motion to adopt the minutes as amended without, well, Bob's motion is on the floor first. Okay.
Well, it'd have to be as corrected.
As
Ado-
corrected.
Adopt the
Yes.
minutes as corrected.
Okay.
He's second, Joe did.
And I will second that.
Okay, all those in favor of passing, or agreeing, what am I looking for? All those in favor of the corrections on the said motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Minutes for the September 7th meeting are accepted. Now, we have the minutes from the September 21st meeting before you. Are there any corrections or alterations that you'd like to make to these group?
If I may, I'd like to make a correction to the new business. Number 3, how to use, it should be the ARP money and not the ART.
The what money on?
The ARP, ARP.
What line is that at, so we?
Number 3, under new business.
Were you taking the word art out?
Yes. And adding, or changing it
ARP.
for ARP.
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 The ARP.
Any other corrections? I'd ask motion to adopt as corrected.
Make a motion to adopt as corrected.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to adopt as corrected.
I'll second.
Mr. George has made or seconded. All those in favor of said motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Correspondence. Does anybody have any correspondence that they received would like to bring forth? There's one thing, it's not really correspondence, but Miss Moody's father had passed away yesterday. I'd like to make mention of that. And wouldn't hurt if we could get a card together, I guess, maybe send to her.
Yeah.
We'll do something. The administration will do something
All right.
for council.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, move on to guest and special events. Chief,
Yes.
You're
I'm
up.
gonna get you out of here, so.
And I'll just start by saying, I just, on the agenda tonight is the renewal of the curfew for Clover Nook, and I just wanted him to come in if you had any questions or concerns, or, I mean, I think we're still struggling, but I'll let Chief add.
Yeah, just some real quick background, just for, your knowledge. We've been in the Clover Nook Apartments since January 692 times.
Wow.
And 310 of those are from July 1st to October 1st. So we've had a pretty busy summer there, which is traditional, I guess. A little busier than what I'd like. We have made several arrests, including on the homicides and the shootings, which are in the court system and going through there. We have a couple other high-profile cases that we're investigating currently under investigation. The temporary modification that we made to the curfew seems to have assisted. That's anecdotal, but my best guess is that we've had a lot of conversations with kids, especially in the early evening hours, and we got them back home without a whole lot of problems. I think in the time since you enacted the curfew, we've actually had the modification on the curfew. We've actually had one arrest. The vast majority of them are kids that we reunited with parents in the early morning hours sometimes, but it does give us a legitimate reason to engage. The detail has been sparsely filled, but we have been able to fill some of those dates. We have some additional dates in October, and we're trying to fill them as best we can. The calls for service there and the work that's being done there is quite extensive on duty, and it's really stressing our agency, but we continue to do the best we can with what we have. I'm happy to answer any questions. I did notify Mr. Coker, the flock safety, the people that run our license plate reader system, that we introduced them and several other businesses in our community too. Earlier last year, they have gone ahead and made arrangements for 3 cameras to be placed in the complex itself, at Compton and at Adams in particular, which, again, I don't know that that's going to really prevent a lot, but it will certainly help us identify and get photographs of people that may be committing crimes or conducting, illegitimate business in that community.
Mm-hmm.
So.
The only other thing I might add, as we continue to have these conversations, and probably we'll have another conference call in the next month or so with them. We had one back in July. We've had that working list of things we want to see them accomplished. It's get security on their own security, get our police out of there. And they've given us feedback. They are engaged. It's like everything else, right? You got ships sitting out in the ocean that can't get in. There's just not people, and so they're struggling finding the right agency to work with, but they are. Another recommendation was the flock, and that's not. That's what are those, 2,500 a piece, I think, or
Yeah,
something like that. So 3. That's an investment that they've put in down there. We've continued. They're working towards the parking. That was another recommendation. It's just taken a while with those assigned parking spots, which will be very helpful for us. A lot of the other places do that. It takes time. They ordered the stuff. They got to get each person in, register their car, assign the spot. They're still hopefully on target for November. I keep describing what's going on down there as 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. We are getting little steps. There's still, some serious things that are going on. And so we'll continue to update council and let you know. But, just hoping that you guys will continue with the curfew tonight, waive the 2 reading rule and get it passed.
Yeah, knock on wood, the real severe violence seems to have quieted, at least. And I say that with great hesitation, because every time I say something like that, all kinds of bad things happen. But I think the arrests on the homicides and the shootings were very beneficial. We had a couple of families that we identified, and of course, they started some eviction procedures based on the work that the detail was doing the few times it was in there. So all these things help, and I think we are making some progress. It seems to have quieted down a bit, and hopefully in a few weeks here it'll cool. The weather will cool to the point where it won't be very productive to be outside anymore, and that will continue on. Usually slows down towards the end of October, beginning of November.
Mr. Redding.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Ross. Chief, so we have 3 flock cameras, correct, that can read license plates in and out of there?
We currently have 2. They've just they got, their vendor notified us that their contract is in place, and they haven't been implemented yet, but their contract is for 3 cameras.
So their contract is for 3, so there'll be a total of 5?
5.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a great system. Allows us to do searches, and it also allows us to make entries so that if we have a particular vehicle that we're looking for, it will alert the officers that are working that vehicle has passed through one of the sites.
Oh, I see it.
Now they're using the same, are they going to use the same customer service company that we are?
Yes, as far as I
Okay.
know.
'Cause
Flock
I-
is the manufacturer that
That's
provides.
the
Right.
manufacturer that.
So they're using a manufacturer to provide the service rating too? Because I thought when we had that discussion with Pearl the last time, that, Sergeant Nolte was in on the discussion, and he was recommending that they use the same service provider that we had. So I guess that's
Yes.
happening.
Yes.
That's the reason
Yep.
for my question.
Yep.
Okay. So, excellent. And from your conversation earlier about all the manpower that it's taking, I was wondering if we could, on your monthly report, get some statistics separated. You don't have to separate them out. You have a total for, all the different types of crimes and calls for services. I was wondering if you could add another column for Clover Nook Apartments to kind of identify those, and then that might help us with, how much manpower it's taking out of the police department to, to keep Clover Nook safe. So-
I'm happy to do that and just make council aware that that number is all of our calls for service there, and that includes fire, self-generated calls for service. Our officers are routinely stopping in different locations that we identify as a priority for them to patrol. So they'll actually, that will be generated in the numbers that we give council, and it's not just them calling us. These are some self-initiated activity and fire activity there as well.
Okay. And I'm assuming that's in the incidents in CFS, right?
Yes.
Number, okay. Okay. Yeah, and then if you could, in a few sentences in the report, just, your estimate, like, what percentage of the police department is, their resources are being spent in one area of the city, so.
We can do that, and, right now, you see it, it's in our reports. It's overwhelming us. It's, the work there is more than what we can actually deal with. We have a backlog of cases that we need to follow up on. We're trying to do the best we can with the staffing that we have, but we still have other responsibilities throughout the city. And this, is providing an enormous amount of workload for our officers to have to follow back up on. And that's the biggest issue right now, is that the crimes are not minor in nature, and they involve doing multiple interviews with different individuals if we can locate them. And locating them is quite a chore sometimes in and of itself. Follow up with witness and evidence collection and processing is taking an enormous amount of time. So these aren't just simple officer run by, take a quick report and get back into service. These require a lot of follow-up and investigatory time, and we just don't have the staffing for that.
Yep, you've got a big job. And then I did also want to call out on page 4 of your report, 1808 Compton Road, which seems to also take some time, 108 calls for the same individual.
So we just had a new social service director that came on board with Hamilton County. I got a chance to meet with her last week. And as a matter of fact, that's the Camacho residents that you're referring to. Cecilia has special needs, and unfortunately, she falls just below the threshold of receiving the institutional type care that she needs. Family doesn't provide very much for her. The landlord there receives money from the state to house her for her housing costs and that sort of stuff. And we had a range of calls from everything that I need help taking medicine to somebody just took my pills, and she has a person, domestic partner that lives with her, and they have quite a few arguments that we have to go over and try to referee, and it's a big mess. So that packet with all the runs that we've made there, the different number of calls for service there, was given to her with the ask of, is there anything we can do from a social service standpoint to weed her out of the police wheelhouse, so to
Yeah.
speak, and try to get her some help it's really beyond the capacity of the police department. But it's an excellent example for, if I can, for just a second, it's an excellent example of where everybody's, right now, the big call is social services, social services, social services. And there's just so much that they can do as well. And it falls back on law enforcement to have to come in and make some very hard calls sometimes, but, trying to go the legal route to get her in front of a judge so that there is somebody with some authority over her, because right now she's on her own and she doesn't call to anyone, and she gets to do whatever she wants to do, and she calls us about 10 times a day, and we have to respond.
And it's all, in the fire department, it's also, and I know
Yep.
Captain, or he's Assistant Chief Dagenhart, has spent a great deal of time on this too, looking at alternatives, talking with other agencies, and it's a vicious circle.
Yep.
Cindy, you had a question?
Yes, okay. I don't know anything about these cameras, so I'm coming from real ignorance here. But I'm wondering if Clover Nook Apartments is purchasing the cameras, so the data is their data, correct?
No, it's an interesting relationship, and it was a relatively new company when it first came in. Quite a few communities in Hamilton County are going to them now. The company actually maintains the data. It's not our data. What we have is the capacity through a Google-type search engine to go in through a portal and access the data. And when we go in through that portal, it's password protected and all that, goes into their servers. They collect all the data, they collect all the photographs, and then we're able to run a lot of different ways, by time, by specific car. If we're looking for a red car, we can enter red cars that went through, the intersections that they're located at such and such a time, and we'll get a list of all the red cars that are there. So it's a very sophisticated piece of equipment, and much to my surprise, it works very, very well. And as I said, quite a few, I know the city of Montgomery purchased like 30 of them for their community, and several other communities in Hamilton County now have gone online with them. So they're a great tool.
It's not only also, because on some occasions, if a car is put in the system, it will give our guys an alert.
Right.
So as it goes through here and there's a car that has a high alert, it's not happened often, but it has happened, and we were able to make an automatic stop on it.
Yeah, if you're noticing in the monthly reports that we're giving you, we've gotten quite a few auto thefts, occupied auto thefts, and that's that alert system. And our detective can, if we're looking for a red Vega or whatever, we can put that information in there, and if there's a red Vega that goes through one of the locations where the cameras are at, it'll alert the officers working. So it's a great tool.
The two that are left in the United States.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Vega.
Sorry.
Well, I appreciate that, because, data, ownership of data gets to be a real issue. I
Yeah,
know, so-
it's a public records issue for us, and if we had that, then anybody could come up and ask under public records. So we have an exemption from that, and that's really been very helpful. Otherwise, we'd be inundated with all kinds of crazy requests.
Right. May I ask you another question? It was on the, the mayor talked about last month that there was going to be a meeting with the superintendent of schools.
Yes.
Do you think things are going well between the city, the police and the city?
The relationship, Herb was in my office this morning, and Herb is the director of security.
Okay.
Herb and Cornelius both, it's not smooth. It's a work in progress, but it is a lot better than what it's ever been in my estimation.
Okay.
They're very responsive. Working with Herb has been very refreshing. He's doing a lot of great things over there, and I think the relationship is very, very strong right at the moment. We've met.
I'm going to cover a little bit of that. in my
Okay,
report,
so
too.
I'll let Bill talk about that, but everybody over there is extremely, if I call and say I need something, we get it.
Well, it's good to hear your perspective, too. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Of the juveniles that you've reunited or arrested, are the majority of them Mount Healthy residents or non-residents?
The one arrest that we made was actually not, and part of the problem that we have over there is that we have a lot of folks from different public housing projects throughout Hamilton County that seem to congregate over there for reasons I don't know. We're dealing with a lot of kids from like Hawaiian Terrace, quite a few from Winton Terrace. We've had quite a few from English Woods as well. And what the attraction is, you know, I don't know, but that's where a lot of them are coming from. And those three communities in particular, where most of the kids we took back to their parents, that's where we went.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Well, Chief, thank you for coming in,
My pleasure, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Have a
you
great
very
night.
much.
Thank
you.
you for taking me
Yeah.
first.
Thank you.
and have all your guys be really safe down there, Chief.
Yep.
Okay, public input. I'll ask the question, but anybody here that would like to address council? Okay. Mayor's report, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, sorry, that's good. If you've ever watched Parks and Recreation in the first season, they held a meeting, and there was like one or two guys there. She said, "Great crowd tonight. I really welcome everybody for showing up." So, we understand that joke. Anyway, just a couple things. They're pretty much all business related. One of them's good news at the last meeting, and I'm sure many of you are aware. I mentioned Chris Gierman had been in the hospital with COVID. He is out of the hospital.
Good.
He is still on oxygen. He plans on doing a soft opening for the bakery soon, being open just weekends only as he's recovering still, because he doesn't have the energy right now. But that is good news. So
That is
he's
good.
healthy. There are plans to open the bakery. I know a lot of people have been concerned. So if you follow their Facebook, Little Dutch's Facebook, he does give a good update on that. But that's good news, very good change, and hope he continues to recover fully. Also, there is a new restaurant opening up where the Greek restaurant used to be. Taste Day Caribbean opens up this Saturday. They're having an event at 5 o'clock with live reggae. It's where the Greek restaurant used to be across from Square Mile. So they've had a opening soon sign for quite a while, and we know new businesses sometimes take a little longer than they hope, but they are opening up, so that's exciting. We'll have a new business up. And then there are some exciting relationships going on. It's one night I wish Kim was here. There have been some connections made between the business association and the schools. And some of these things you'll see up front, some of them you won't see. But our culinary department, we have a chef who's, I forget, it's like the World Registry of Chefs is our new head of the department. He's great. And he is working on a pre-apprenticeship program through the school. So the way that schools work right now, we all know you have to pass a standardized test to graduate. There's some exceptions to that. One of them is if you enlist in the military, you can be exempted from that. Another one is if you get job certification through an apprenticeship program while you're in school. So basically saying you need to pass the test to go to college or have a job lined up or military. And he's creating a pre-apprenticeship program and reached out to a bunch of businesses. And he's actually got Christian Village of Mount Healthy signed on and Clover Nook Country Club signed on. So he will be teaching the kids in class how to cook their menus with the agreement that he will hire our students at higher than starting rate. So the idea is they come in trained, so they don't have to do as much training. And Christian Home was thrilled. He met with them. This is moving forward. So it was great. Kim helped make the connections. The chef reached out to me, and I said, let me pass you off to Kim, and then Kim passed them off to the other people. So it's exciting that that's happening. It really could be a draw for the community. I think there aren't many districts that have these kinds of programs. And we know Cincinnati State has the Midwest Culinary Institute, so starting to create a program in our community where you can both get a job and hopefully feed down to that would be great. Then secondly, we have there's new art classes at the high school, and again, Kim helped connect some people. They are looking to do almost like a Christmas in Mount Healthy thing, but in May, where the art students would actually, they always have something at school where they display their artwork. This time they want to do it in the community, and they're working with Kim. The hope is that businesses will have artwork displayed in their stores during the month of May. It will be for sale as well, just like an art gallery, and then kick it off with an art walk one night, where there'll be hors d'oeuvres of the different businesses, maybe street musicians, and you can go into the businesses, help drum up support for the business, but also show off student artwork and have it for sale in a gallery setting. So it's pretty exciting to see the collaboration there. So I've told them, they're very early right now, but if there's anything the city that can do to help them out, and other than just create the relationships, we'd be willing to listen and see what we can do. So
That's great news.
yeah, so keep an eye out for that. I think they'll both be fun. I think well, the one's fun, the one is a great partnership. But keep an eye out for those. I'll keep you updated, and if the city gets involved, I think there's some things we could possibly do. I know we've been looking at, small pop-up events for a long time, and Art Walk could really be part of that. So I'll let you know. They're in the planning stage. I'm not in the planning of it. I'm just offering help and connections, so.
Good.
And I think that is all. Yeah, we did meet with the superintendent, and I'll let Bill take that.
Right. Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, there was a couple things that were driving the meeting. And one in particular was, and I've had discussions with this before with the mayor and other members of we struggle with getting out information, and we use Facebook as a way to do that. And but unfortunately, a lot of times what happens is that information just gets out of control, and it just becomes the whole focus of whatever we were trying to get out just becomes a whole vetting of people. We don't know where they live, just being negative about the city, the schools, or whatever. So we talked about different things, and the mayor and I have talked about it. There's so many notifications. We talked about maybe having a different way to get out specific police information. But again, I mean, how many apps and everything can we have? And there is a pretty decent following with the Facebook, and it's a good way to get out the information. So after talking with the school, different ideas, embedding it with our law director, what we're going to do is effective December 1st is shut off all the comments on Facebook. Just freeze them. Not going to delete anything. What's out there will stay. But going forward, the focus then is on the information that we're trying to get out, and not somebody's opinion that may or may not live here about what's going on at the school and they're this, that, or the other. So we gave it two months. The post reads now, interestingly, created about 90 comments. Effective December 1st, 2021, this site for the Mount Healthy Police Department will no longer allow comments by any of the public on any posts. The purpose of the site is disseminate information to the general public. Comments will be locked going forward, as well as on any post prior to December 1st, 2021. Thanks in advance for your understanding. So I just kind of wanted to let you know that that's kind of that wasn't the only thing that we talked about there, but that was one of the items, and that's what came out of it. So
I think the police department's already done that on their page, because I just saw that.
They posted
they
it.
posted
posted
this,
that.
that it's coming.
Yeah.
We wanted, yes.
Starting December 1st, right? Right.
December 1st, right. Yeah, and I said that then this posting generated 90 comments. So, good. So, and actually, in reading through them, some of them very, very positive, and some of them not so. So I think, again, we're just trying to get a good platform to just get out information, so.
And I thought you said on the Facebook?
On the police department Facebook.
Okay, we thought we heard you say the Facebook.
Oh.
That'd be something I'd say.
Think of funny.
Does it
You're cracking.
state any place that
Just
if
your
you
age, Bill.
have some comments of what the channel is to communicate?
Right, I mean, yeah, I mean, if, phone, call the police department is the best, is the best way. If we're at, I mean, that was after, if you go back and read some of the comments, and it was great, some of the people
Well, I don't do
responded.
Facebook.
So, but yeah,
I don't have
and
a
it's probably
clue.
good. But yeah, no, I mean, if we put on there soliciting, please call the police department with information, is how we'll solicit that information. If it's,
Well, I just wondered if that's part of the post is, I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from with, we don't want this random thing, but if somebody wants to communicate, I mean, to remind them to come to council or to call City Hall or, something like that.
Yeah, we can all post something like that. Maybe right before December 1st, just saying reminder, We will not be accepting comments after this point. If you want to give input, here's the phone number, website, and email address.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just some way to, from my point of view, not to show that we're not cutting off communication.
No, and I mean, we're going to continue to make posts, right? So
I
we'll make
totally,
a
but
post
it-
that says if this such and such is going on out, National Night Out, just, give all the details of National Night Out, at the park, blah, 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 blah. If you've got any questions, call, So that's what, we'll continue to still do those posts. It just won't allow people to comment.
I get that. Never mind.
The Facebook page does have the profile of the Facebook page does have the city's phone number on it, City Hall's phone number. And I can enter the email. I have access to do that as well. So that way, if they're on the page, they can see how to contact us.
I mean, I'm not asking them to comment and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. I don't want people to think that it's all one-way conversation.
Okay. So again, tonight on your desk for I don't know how many weeks in a row now, we've got a new priority sheet. And a lot of this is good because, our number one priority, we got funded through another source, which was great. So then that moved up number 2 priority to number 1 priority. And so if we could kind of settle on a number 2 that will be submitted. History has shown that we typically don't get 2 projects funded for skip funding. But it kind of helps us and sets the priorities for the, upcoming year and kind of keeps us, moving forward with that. It allows it to get the project scored. That was for us to kind of be able to determine, should we do 20, should we do 30%? But pretty much going forward, we've used 30% as the number in order to get things funded as a match. So I don't know if council has, again, we'll pass the second piece of the legislation tonight authorizing us to move forward. It's generic enough that will allow it, but this will just kind of continue to help us keep track of our priorities.
I think the first correction should be made before we decide on what's number 2.
Sure.
The Madison Avenue, the second one there, from Hamilton to Warner, should be Hamilton to Harrison. And then the piece from Harrison to Warner should go with the Warner Avenue down in the bottom section.
Right, and I respectfully disagree with that, Bob, just because I don't think that section, it's going to be, that section of Madison between Hamilton and, is not a project size.
Okay, well, then it goes with the Harrison project.
All of that, then I think then I think the Harrison project. Oh, okay, yeah, you could pick, you would eliminate that, you could eliminate that and pick up that side street, right?
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I think is that the Warner project, to go from Warner all the way to the south terminus, plus pick up that section of Madison could be nearly over a $2 million project. And those are just typically larger than what we do.
Well, about half of Warner's only going to be grind and overlay. That was done about 12 years ago. And then Duke came in and messed it all up.
Yeah, the
But-
other side is, so between Compton and Stevens, that's going to be a grind and overlay for Warner, I would think, because that's got curb and gutter there.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Between Compton and Stevens?
Yes,
Compton to Stevens on Warner?
Oh, Compton to Stevens.
between Compton and Stevens on Warner, should just be grind and overlay.
That's more than half of that street.
Yes. And then south of Stevens, Warner continues down to Kemper, okay?
They have no curbs.
And
or
that's where
anything.
they don't have curb, gutter, anything.
They don't have
They,
anything.
yeah, they don't, there's nothing there. And then Madison, and I didn't measure the footage, but I think we might want to take another look at what that cost is.
Yeah. Well,
Because I don't know, I'm not going to be, I can't tell you that it's under 2 million. That's
Right,
for darn
and maybe what's better is to bring JMA back in, because we're sitting there assuming, well, it only needs a grind and overlay. They may say, well, no, wait a second, we have, the storm sewers need to be replaced. I don't know, I mean,
I hope,
I
I
don't
hope not only because they're curving between Stevens and Compton looks really good. So,
Okay. I don't know. I mean, you're right. We should get this established. And maybe it's good that JMA comes in so that if we do have these specific, we can kind of show them what we're looking at, and then they can give us some of the feedback too. Because it's not going to prevent us, right? I mean,
Well, say it is a $2 million project. What's the problem? You just don't think we can get that much funded?
yeah, I think that would be a challenge on us,
Not that we can't pay the
Right, I mean, there's
30%.
always- Yeah, right, exactly.
It's just that they wouldn't give that much to one.
But I don't know that for a fact, too. I mean, but yeah. But yes, that was my thinking.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing that we're at risk at right now is not, do I think that we'll get a second we've never gotten a second project off of Skip, but I think your point's valid. Maybe we should ask them to come in as a special guest and look at this list and give us the feedback and say, we want to maybe reprioritize, we want to understand what we're doing, and yeah, does it make more sense to pick up Madison between Harrison and Hamilton on the Harrison project? There's a lot of those side streets, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you went down Harrison and did
Yeah.
Madison, Kenny, Stevens, and then McMacken and Hill and Hastings, just do them all to Compton as you're doing
Yeah,
Harrison.
again, I don't, that sounds like a great, I don't know, I think it would be good to have JMA in here to ask that.
I'm not an engineer, but it just
Right,
seems like
right.
a
It makes-
logical way to do it.
It does, yeah.
I would like them to
Yep.
come in.
yeah, because that way too, I think, Bill, I mean, I don't want to throw too much at them, but at what point do we look, at start getting more of a 5-year plan?
Mhm.
That's kind of, I don't want to say set in concrete, but, relatively hard set, so,
Well, I mean, I don't know, that's why we kind of use this sheet, this gives
Right.
us at least a 2-year, and things change, right? Compton
Yes.
wasn't on that list, and then it got moved up as a priority, so it makes me, to say, this is our 5-year plan, we're sticking to it, I think it needs to be fluid.
no, yeah, I mean, to a degree, and I
Yeah.
can see Hamilton, and big streets like Hamilton and Compton can obviously, and Adams,
Mhm.
trying to think of something, those three specifically could,
Right,
could fluctuate back and forth,
right.
but,
Next year, if we get this project funded, which hopefully we will, typically we get a project, we'll have that project, we'll have Compton, we'll have Hamilton, and we'll have the completion of this
Adams,
project over here. So I have a lot going on next year. So if we just submit one priority, it's not gonna kill us either. I mean, we could throw something in there just to throw it in there, but maybe we ought to have the projects
Yeah.
defined as we need, and then we just have to establish a new priority if we get this one funded for next year. Does that sound like a plan?
It's a lot of construction.
yeah, it's,
Yeah, it is. It's good.
if we need a second one, I thought what was talked about at last meeting after watching the video, I thought made sense too, was, where are my notes here? Was the, oh no, we just talked about it, okay. Was the Warner, yeah, so that would be number 2.
Mhm.
Yep, sorry, got that confused with Forest for a minute, so.
All right, so do we want to, we don't have to throw in a second priority. And like I said, typically why we would throw in a second one was to get it scored so that we'd have a better idea of whether we wanted to do a 20% match or a 30% match. But pretty much, in order to get these projects funded, we've had to do a 30% match.
Okay,
So, we're not putting ourselves in jeopardy not putting in a second
Okay.
priority.
we're not losing out on any potential information for 23,
20.
okay, by not putting that second one in there, knowing we're not gonna get it, but,
That's why I said,
Understanding
what
your
information,
point.
that's what I just said. The information that we typically were looking for was, were we
okay.
close? Did it score well? If it
Yeah.
scored well and we were close, hey, maybe we only need to do a 20% match. That was
yes.
kind of the reason.
Okay, that was the gist of our strategy, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
at least that's what
Okay.
yeah. So,
That's-
so why don't I have,
I'm good with only doing one and then reassessing with JMA.
all right. Typically, these are the shorter nights, but next meeting is election night. do we want to try to, is that a good night for them come in or no?
Next meeting's not an election night.
Next meeting.
No, the next, these
First-
meetings.
First of the month, yeah.
Oh,
You know, usually these are typical, that's why we don't do, necessarily do all the reports so that we could do other
Yeah.
things, work sessions, that
Yep.
kind of thing, so. But I know sometimes on election night, people want to get out too, so, it's up to you guys. But let me find out JMA's availability.
Okay.
and then we-
November, December's not gonna be terrible either, the first week in December,
Right.
first meeting in December.
Well, you have to apply with Skip before the end of
Oh,
the
yeah,
month.
it'll be long gone, that,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just more going forward,
on Warner between Stevens and to the end, is that gonna be widened or just,
It's a better question for JMA. I don't
oh,
know.
okay, I just didn't know
Yeah.
what the plans were. You can't get two cars passing each other on
Right.
that stretch.
It's like the old part of Hickman,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have to.
Now, there aren't any houses right on the sidewalk on that part of Maple, I don't think.
I mean, I know we
Addison?
typically,
Or I'm sorry,
Warner,
or
there's
on
no
Warner,
sidewalks
on Warner.
at all there.
Yeah, but like on Hickman, there's houses right on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And I don't think
yeah.
that's an issue
I don't
on
know
Warner.
what easement areas we even have over there.
Close, but I think the setback
I was
might
just
only be
curious.
30, 35 feet.
yeah, I don't know that off the top of my head. I mean, generally, our direction is to maximize where we can
Where you
within the
can.
right of ways. 25, 20, I mean, 25 minimum, 28 is typically what you try to do. 20, even at 28, you're still gonna have one lane restricted,
Yeah.
typically. So,
Thank
okay,
you.
I'll have them come in and we'll just move forward with that priority.
Okay.
All right, great. I'll speed things up. Budget worksheets have been out, to department heads, they have to be back this month, so we're just, budget process has started. And we'll keep that moving along, and the plan is to, do our 2 readings and, go to finance in November, get it to council in December and get it passed, along with all the other housekeeping stuff we have to do at year end. We did close on, 7504, or better known as Northwest Auto, or Northwest Repair, Taekwondo, the 2 apartments above that. So, that was done. Greg did a walkthrough today, to get final keys and different things like that. And the management company is gonna take over the 2 apartments.
Is the transmission company gone, or are they staying?
They're gone.
They're-
That's what facilitated.
Yeah,
all
yeah,
this.
I didn't know if they were gonna try to stay a couple more months, or they've left.
They're ready to retire.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then the last thing that I have tonight, and I got this from Scott. 2 things. What he's asked me to do is ask you guys to do a motion for 2 things. 2 things that are, well, the first one I'll talk about is a workers' comp claim. I don't know how familiar people are with workers' comp. This employee hasn't worked with us in over 10 years. Their experience is completely off of our books, so it's not going to impact our rating or our renewals or anything like that. However, sometimes these have a tendency to drag on forever, and so what workers' comp wants to do is settle. But Scott wanted me to get and they want to settle in this particular case for $9,000. And again, it's not paid by the city. It's paid through BWC. It comes out of their fund, nothing on our end. Like I said, and he's still not, after, I think it's 4 or 5 years, I can't recall, that the experience rating, a person that has a lot of claims drops off, and it helps so you're not constantly stuck with that, because these things can go on. Like I said, this person hasn't worked at the city for over 10 years. So anyway, so I'm going to ask for a motion, if you guys would please, just authorizing Scott to let BWC know, yes, settle this thing. Because I hate this, but what happens is you can end up spending thousands of more dollars in litigation and still not come out, with that. So,
Yep.
and then the second one, not BWC related, but, and I think you guys might recall that there was an issue with the tattoo place that opened up on down by Compton and Clovernook. And they were trying to open during the pandemic. We weren't doing anything. You know, we weren't having meetings or anything, we were barely meeting here, right? They filed a lawsuit. And as frustrated, and their first request was $150,000 in losses and so forth. So, you know, sadly, what typically happens in these cases is that the attorneys talk, and they settle, right? And they come up with a settlement agreement because, again, you'll spend thousands of dollars fighting, which we know is a BS claim, a nuisance claim, but they've agreed to this for $5,000, which again is maddening, but Keisha, you're probably shaking your head. I mean, that, in today's world, that's,
That's a gift.
yeah, it is. It's ridiculous. It's covered through our insurance. Again, we do have a deductible, but it's, again, you know, it's covered through that. And Scott's recommending that, you know, like he said, we'll spend, in discovery, you'll spend thousands of dollars just going through the whole process just to get ready
And it
to
will
fight.
drag on.
What's that?
And it will drag on.
Yes, that's what tends to happen. So, first of all, is there any other questions or?
Yeah, pretty.
So Scott's just asking me, and I'll read them. Actually, I'll give it to Melanie so you have it, but I'll read it, and then if you guys can just, it's just authorizing him to settle these things. I'll read what he asked me to say. I'd like to request a motion providing authority to the law director, Solomon, to execute a settlement on behalf of the city of Mount Healthy, which will not require any monies to be paid by the city with respect to the Ohio Workers' Compensation appeal of Stephen Griffith pending litigation. That's the first motion.
You want us to do it now?
We can, and, yeah, I mean, might as well, right? I mean, we can bring it up under older new business. Yeah, just read it again.
I probably need somebody to say that
Well, I guess he's saying I can request, I can give, then I can go back and say, council gave you authorization to do that. I request the motion and he did it, so.
any discussion on that, council, before we,
Would you like me to read it one more time?
Nope.
Okay.
I don't, but
you need a voice
Somebody else
vote
might-
or just a individual?
Well, I think
We
you
need it
need
first.
Somebody has to make
first
make
and
it
second
first.
it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to,
go, no,
please, go ahead, no. It's all, it's
Go
your
ahead.
ladies first.
Okay. Keisha has made a motion to adopt. Joe is seconded.
All right, there we go.
All those in favor? I see voice, roll call.
I think just,
I think voice is fine.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion is carried.
Okay. Second motion would be, this is me, I would request a motion for approval of the city's insurance pool to settle on behalf of the city of Mount Healthy with any monies to be paid by without any monies to be paid by the city, pending litigation involving claims by Mr. Levette. His first name is Jakque. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but I will give you this, Melanie.
okay.
All right. Would you like me to read that again, or?
You said this was 150,000?
No, this is what he requested.
Initially
We're
asked.
settling it for 5,000.
All right,
Yeah, that was their initial ask.
okay.
and a third of that goes to.
Any other discussion, council?
Yeah, this one bothers me, but I would say fight it, but we'd be out $25,000 instead of $5.
It's not worth the fight.
This country needs to get, or at least this state needs to get the loser pays all costs in these lawsuits to get people to quit filing frivolous suits, but,
I feel the same way on the first one, too. So
well, the first one's the BWC, and
Paper terrorists.
we really don't have a lot to say about that. So, but, you know, I don't like this, but I'm gonna have to go along with it to save money.
Do they still want to open it here?
any other
Yes,
comments or
we approved it.
council?
Oh, that's right, we did.
Would like the motion to
I'll make
adopt.
a motion.
I second it.
Mr. George has made a motion to adopt. Second?
Second.
Denise? Keisha?
You have them good. That's the
Seconded.
bad part.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you. That's all I have tonight.
Okay. Then we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions. We have no second readings on ordinances. We do have one second reading on a resolution. That's resolution number 25-1175. and it is a resolution authorizing the city manager of the city of Mount Healthy to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs, and to execute contracts as required. Once again, it's Resolution 21-1175. We had the first reading on the 21st of September. Questions or comments?
Nope. So now you need a motion.
Yes, I would like a motion to adopt then, council.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 21-1175.
Okay, Keisha has made a motion to adopt.
I make a
Second.
motion.
Parsons has seconded.
And this says various streets. The only one we're going to do is Forest and a little piece of Madison.
Yes, Madison
Crouch.
Park to Forest and
Down
Forest
to
Avenue.
Park, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Roll call when you're ready.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody, Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George,
Aye.
Ms. Sheets.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance, resolution number 21-1175 is adopted. Okay, then we go on to the first reading of some ordinances. I'm sorry, first reading of an ordinance.
1967. This one.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute emergency curfew for juveniles within Clovernook Apartments up through December 1st, 2021. That's ordinance number 21-1967.
Can I make a motion to
I've got
waive
a
the two
question.
reading? Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry. On the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth whereas, so it's from 9 PM to 6 PM?
No, that's
It
typo
says
again.
PM, that's why I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. That was a typo in the last one. He must have just,
It says it right on the second page.
yeah, that's what
I
happened.
just want to make sure.
That's right.
So if we could just make that
6
correction.
a.m.?
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everybody got that change? Okay,
Now you.
George?
Make a motion to waive the two reading rule?
Mr. George has made a motion to waive the two reading rule.
I'll second that.
Mr. Parsons seconded.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody, Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George,
Aye.
Ms. Sheets.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, the two reading rule has been suspended. Any other discussion? I would ask for a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 21-1967. Do I have to say as amended, because we did that
With
before?
corrections.
With the
With the
correction.
correction.
With the correct, yeah.
As corrected.
As corrected.
There you go.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
A second.
Ms. Keisha Dosa has seconded.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody, Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George.
Aye.
Ms. Sheets.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 21-1967 is passed. Then we have second ordinance, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to extend emergency curfew. We just did that, didn't I?
What's the amounts?
176.
21-1176.
Apologize. Okay, Resolution 21-1176, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency. 21-1176. Questions? There
Yeah,
should
so
be
this is
some.
basically what the county is projecting that they'll collect in 2022. We do this every year, to kind of connect the dots. In May, we pass the tax budget, send that to the county. The county then kind of incorporates it into their budget, and they plan what they're going to collect for the next year for us.
So this is just a
Yeah.
proposal.
Come to this, so once we pass this, that's saying we agree with what their estimate is. It appears in order. It's usually they kind of add about 1% or so each year, it seems, and they're usually in line with what they actually collect, so.
Ross?
Yes.
Do you need us to waive the 2 readings?
Yes.
Okay.
It's technically due the 20th, so I mean, if we did it
okay.
next, the 19th, we typically do just do it in 1 reading, though. I mean, that would make it a little more convenient just to get it in time, but.
Have everybody here. I mean, enough here, I should say.
But it's due, it is due the 20th, and the next meeting is the 19th.
This is just telling us what our levies are going, yeah. I make a motion to waive the 2 reading rule for Resolution 21-1176.
Okay, Mr. Redding has made a motion to suspend.
Second.
Mr. George seconded.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody, Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George,
Aye.
Ms. Sheets.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, the 2 reading rule has been waived. On,
Oh, mine says Judy Peterson.
Because they didn't put on Cindy Sheets' name.
Oh, yeah, this is,
I just realized that.
good check, good catch.
Man,
I always
Sorry,
go
I
down the
didn't-
line.
I did
I'm
not
like, Judy
update that,
Peterson.
sorry.
She's gone.
No, you're on the other one. That's weird.
It was just a typo.
Yeah.
Use the same one as last year, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Cindy's on the last, the
Do
other ones
we-
are on there.
we'll have to make a motion to adopt as corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, I will make a motion to adopt Resolution 21-1176 as corrected.
Okay.
I second.
Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt, and Ms. Dosa has made a motion to, or seconded the motion.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody, Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George,
Aye.
Ms. Sheets.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, or resolution number 21-1176 is adopted.
Thank you.
That is all of our ordinances and resolutions. Old business.
Question?
Yes.
Did you, Bill, did you talk about the meeting with the school and the police?
I'm sorry, yeah, that was what precipitated the whole Facebook conversation. That was one of the things that we discussed at the meeting and kind of came to conclusion on. The other things that we discussed was just kind of the strategic plans around the football games. But that was really probably one of the main reasons, because there were some posts about school, there's, that generated hundreds and hundreds of negative comments. And the school's struggling with perception and different things like that, and so we just kind of sat down and got our minds together. That was what was mainly on that.
Thank you.
And if I can expand on that, there have been other concerns, just business association and others, with making sure that our social media is trying to promote as much as we can, opposed to focusing on negatives. We don't want to hide anything, but at the same time,
Yeah, sure.
need to just be cognizant. So that's why we're not only applying this policy, well, that's one of the reasons. We're not only applying the policy to posts about schools, but to all of our posts. But also, we have to be careful legally. You can't pick and choose what you're going to disable comments for. So it came from that conversation, but became a much broader conversation to lead to that. Right.
Thank you.
Old business.
Two
Mr.
things.
Redding?
Question for Scott, and because I missed last meeting, the difference between the 1.8 and the 2.3 on the bonds, can you just quickly explain that for?
So what's the difference between a taxable and a non-taxable bond? Basically, if the property was, say, an open lot and we used it as a park before, even if we were going to eventually redevelop it or something like that, then it would be non-taxable because it would be more government use related, whereas this one, it's an existing building, it's more outside, so to speak, of normal government non-taxable use. So that was the
Okay.
difference. I did ask for the bond to be quoted the same way it was in the previous year, which it should have been taxable. I don't know what the disconnect was, but yeah,
Okay.
that's basically
So
it.
the difference was the 1.8 was a tax exempt, would have been a tax exempt bond,
Correct.
right? If we were able to do that.
Correct.
So if we were building a firehouse on an empty lot or something like that, okay.
Right.
All right. Versus, okay,
And that
thank you.
was still lower than the competitor, the one that we went with. So
Oh, yeah,
even with that change, yeah.
2.3s. And then I have a question for Bill on, and it escapes me, I know we had a discussion about alleys and parking lots, and I thought part of that discussion was, well, we're getting the revenue through the 10-cent tax, and we talked about earmarking it for that. We're waiting until Hamilton Avenue is done to go after these? Is that the conversation I remember, or?
No, I think what the increase went in prior to the pandemic,
Right,
but then things dropped off
Right,
drastically.
it did.
Right. So it kind of put it on hold. I mean, and we are seeing those revenues come back up. So and you'll notice when we do the budget that the carryover in the street CM&R is continuing to grow, and that's how we're going to fund it. So
Right.
so I think, now that we have another year, kind of normal year, that now we can kind of figure out, okay, this is what we're getting on an annual basis, this is what we can need, this is what we need to do. And then the discussion was, to do a big project, $1 million, whatever it takes to get all alleys. So my thought would be that, you're going to look to probably do that in 2023, once we build up enough funds.
Okay, and that was I thought that we talked about it and had another conversation in relationship to the work that was being done on Hamilton Avenue. Okay, maybe I was just
Not
thinking.
that I recall, but.
Okay. Because my concern was if we did them anywhere near each other going on at the same time,
Yeah.
then we would really maybe severely impact parking, with not having parking on
Right.
Hamilton and not.
Well,
so-
again, and I think that, I think in 2022, the way things are lining up, we're gonna have a lot going on, right?
Right.
Between
Yep.
Compton, Hamilton, finishing up in Adams, and potentially getting the project that we talked about tonight. That should probably, and that gives us another year to build up. So then, in 2023, I think we'd look for a skip project, which, be talking about this time next year, and then building this, or putting together this plan for the
Okay.
alleys.
So we have a little while to put the plan together for
Yeah,
the
and,
alleys.
and continue to build those funds up.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
I'm good.
besides,
Yep.
excuse me, besides building the funds, I thought we were talking about taking a loan for maybe
Yeah.
$500,000,
Oh, yeah. I think we'll need
700,000.
to, yeah, exactly. But at least we can see the good trend on the funds too, so we know, hey,
Put some down on it and then have money to start paying off
Exactly.
the loan over 5 to 10 years, whatever.
right,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, because we want to make it a big,
And we want to make sure we have enough normal years to know what to expect to get in, that we can base how much we want to finance off
Yeah,
of.
we had talked about 120, almost 115, 120,000 a year extra. But, yeah, we'll see.
yeah.
Okay, great, that's all I had, thank you.
Okay, I have just an old business item I'd like to bring up for future conversation, and that was the tethering law in regards to the animals. The people went away, we kind of forgot about it. We got to have the conversation, whether we do anything or not. Once again, that's immaterial. But I think we need to, I think you were gone, Joe, anti-tethering.
Yeah, I was here for that, and then I was gone the next meeting, yep.
But
I have
anyway,
about 30 emails with proposed legislation from individuals who were here.
how do we want to handle this?
It's a great question.
Is there a committee that we throw it to, or
I mean, I put it,
work session, or?
is this, do you think we should tether dogs? I mean, really, it's council needs to decide on, and you don't do it because you're pressured to do it. If you think it's something that we should do, then we should do it. If you don't, and it always comes back to how do you enforce these things?
Well,
It just
I know
becomes,
that,
so sometimes you got to just say, no, we don't think, and I think, one of the other things that afterwards I thought too is, there's demographics involved with this too. It's easy to say, put up a fence in your backyard, right? That's thousands of dollars. The communities that they're citing that have these are a little different. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that could come into play here. But I think at some point, you're right, Ross, I think council needs to make the decision, this is
Right.
something we want to look at or we don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
cost to enforce, right? I mean,
Well, it's not
Especially
even the
if we
cost.
bring-
I just don't know how you would honestly do it,
Our police don't have the training to know when a dog's being mistreated.
That's what I'm saying, and if I recall from the conversation with the new SPCA, I'll call it.
Right, I can never remember that name either. But I
Yeah,
thought was
I mean-
interesting in that whole conversation, because prior to this, we were kind of battling two fronts, right? It was, nobody was happy with the SPCA, and they were pushing for anti-tether, because when there was a tethering situation going on, they couldn't get anybody even to show up. That doesn't sound like to me what was being said, that they were pleased with what the new SPCA is. What's the name I should?
The Cincinnati Animal Care.
Cincinnati Animal Care is doing, which I think is a positive thing, right? I mean, and again, that's where it comes back, and that's where we've kind of always said is like, we can't create a whole new thing in Mount Health. This is the agency that's out there. Sounds like they're doing a pretty decent job. That's who we need to work with, and that's kind of where it's always been. So it's not even I mean, the funding is a big part of that, but I don't know how you can do a lot of that stuff.
I don't disagree with you at all. I just think something.
No,
we need
I'm
to
with you.
discuss, that's all.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Just don't bare our heads and.
Yeah,
I'm willing to meet with a committee if committee wants to meet about it, and I can bring all the stuff, or if someone wants me to forward them all the recommendations, I'd be happy to do that as well. Or I can forward them to everybody.
I don't know enough about it.
nobody wants to be involved.
Well,
No, that's not the case.
maybe I'm getting ahead of myself.
And I have the stuff
I'm
from last time,
Thinking, how do
too.
we crack, how do I crack this nut, is because some of those examples at the head in there, I specifically saw some of them, and I didn't think they were bad, and I'm like, geez, am I going down the wrong path, or, so they had a shepherd on a runner, and it was behind a fence. I'm like, I didn't think that was terrible,
That specific house, I actually know. The reason they have it on a runner is because it was getting too close to the fence, and it jumps up and its head comes over the fence, and that fence is right on the sidewalk. They were actually considering pedestrians.
Yes.
This
So,
is a very difficult issue.
but it didn't look to me like the dog was abused, so,
Right.
Right.
and I think
That's to Bob's point. We're never going to be anytime there's that, we're going to bring in Cincinnati, the new agency, to help with that. Or a lot of times they'll bring in a veterinarian, because that's where it really comes down. Is this dog malnutrition or whatever? So.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like trying to say you can't have a pit bull, and there's no way you can win that argument, so.
Right, we got rid of the vicious
We got,
dog.
yeah.
About 15 years ago.
I mean, any dog can be vicious.
Okay, anyway,
regardless
that
of
was
the
all,
dog.
I brought it up, I got discussion
Raised.
going, so we'll have to decide what to do. Any other old business, council?
Maybe we can have a work session.
New business?
If it would be easy, just real quick, I can kind of summarize the recommended changes and just have a sheet for you all for the next meeting.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way you can look at it, make
Some
decisions
sort of a
based off
guide,
that,
yeah.
if you want to move forward or not.
Thank you.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Can do that.
Thanks, Jimmy.
One other thing for old businesses, I'm still getting phone calls about the light at Perry and Compton and how dangerous it is. And they're very concerned about it. It's somebody that lives in the area very close to it, and they're very worried about people. And I had asked for the data, and so we did, I assume it was because I asked for it, that we got this packet.
No, that was just for you, yeah.
So I was the only one that got it?
You were the only one that, you requested it.
Well, in my packet, I'm the chosen one, I guess. I got a listing of accidents at, I assume it's Compton and Perry, and they've listed three, since January 1st through August the 22nd, I believe is what it was. And then there's the full report on the back, the whole accident report. Because when people ask me, and, they're just like, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for somebody to be killed? And I tell them I think the council did a good job when they, enacted it. I drive by it, I walk it a lot, and I have not had an issue. And I tell them, that doesn't mean you haven't had an issue, you're not hearing it, I'm asking for the data. I have requested the data because the police chief gives us information from the last 5 years when he gives us our report to see how it lines up. I'm a data person, and so it's like, how does it line up? I mean, this doesn't report, you know, the squealing tires or the vocalizations at the light and those kind of things. These are the actual crashes, but I'm still getting phone calls about that. I don't know if anybody else is, but.
I haven't,
I think I talked to, is it Mr. Atkinson, I think, that lives over there? I talked to him at great length the other day, too. And he presented it in a very professional manner, and we talked about it. And, you know, I have asked our engineer to look at different ways of trying to analyze it. I think you will find, I mean, anytime we go through a change, there's going to be, you know, a learning curve there. And, yeah, one of the things that I'm glad to see in those 3 accidents is that none of them were injury accidents. I think since then we may have had one minor injury accident there. You know, and again, the only thing that has been discussed is that, and for some people there is a concern, or there is a line of sight issue when you are at either direction looking towards the west. And you know, there's 2 trains of thought. You know, elimination of parking, which is always a challenge in the downtown business district. You know, that's a ripple effect for businesses. And then the other day I was talking to the chief about it, and you know, he made a recommendation of possibly just allowing only cars to park there, you know, and just, I never even thought of that, but just car parking only, no trucks, because then that, at least there's, the line of sight is down, and it really becomes a problem when there is a box truck that might park there, or a high pickup truck or whatever. Again, that would be, you know, that would be something that council we could do within the parking. If that's something that you wanted me to look into, that was new to me. I mean, we may have to do some research to see if other locations, and again, getting the proper wording on the sign. Absolutely no truck. I mean, we'll have to make it clear, right? But
That's my SUV count.
yeah, right. Yeah. So we'll have to work on that. But that was another thought that maybe could help. So.
Has anybody discussed a 4-way stop there?
No, I mean, that was discussed when we did this, and I mean, that
I don't know
wouldn't have
whether
been
it's-
warranted either, yeah.
I don't know what.
Yeah. And I don't argue it. I mean, I get, some people say there's no way I would ever cross there, and I understand that. You know, that, you know, that is, you know, I can understand what you're saying. But anytime I cross Hamilton, if I'm walking uptown or whatever, I make sure everybody's stopping, right? And in there, you can always go, the good thing is you're only 1 block away to go up to Hamilton to make that cross, you know? And I think, as I've talked to a lot of different people, I think people start changing their driving habits if they are concerned, you know, the people that are concerned that go there. I don't know if there is a solution, but, you know, we can, you know, those are some of the things that have been brought up. So if you wanted me to, I could look into the car parking only kind of a thing. That way it kind of works with the businesses, and you don't eliminate spots, because we know what happened when we did that with just the 1-hour parking and the concerns it created. It could be a solution, or I don't know if it's going to solve all issues, but it could help, I guess.
Would a study be relevant at this point? I mean, it's a different world today than it was when the study was initially done in, what, 1920, was it? 2020?
Oh, I thought you meant
I mean, it
1920.
just seems like a different world.
I did
and-
too. I was like,
It's been a couple of years.
It was done in 18 or 19, wasn't it?
Makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but,
I mean, and another thing I could do is I could ask our engineer to come in, and, you know, another special guest, and, you know, and talk to you guys if you want me to.
Give us options,
Even
or,
if they just study the intersection.
I mean, or give you time to ask some of these the questions that you might have, try to get him to answer them. He may or may not be able to answer them. He may be able to tell you whether I don't know if you know, I do know that, you know, I don't know what he can or can't do. I have asked him to say, hey, look at I've had a council person ask me, look at every angle that you can. Is there other things that you can look at, you know, and And he said, I'll think about it, and he hasn't gotten back to me. But if you'd like for him to come in, I could also arrange that.
Joseph and Adams. Parking. We ever do anything with, I think it's Joseph and Adams intersection about line of sight parking?
Oh, we did the study. The study didn't recommend
Oh.
anything.
Yeah, that was as far as moving the no parking from here to corner. I'm sorry, Russ, I was thinking Joseph and Compton with the,
Yeah, I don't remember what came out of that,
with
that's all.
the eastbound traffic.
That was kind of a line of sight problem also, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it was.
Nothing. They really didn't say,
They
I'd
said
have to
there
go back
wasn't
and look at what they sent
an
us,
issue.
but,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they said there was not an issue.
okay.
Okay, any other new business, council?
Buying a giant truck.
We, did we forget to make a motion to include Keisha when she arrived?
I marked her coming in.
Yeah, we don't do the motion part of that.
I don't,
I remember we.
I don't think we excused her, right? Because
No, we did. I think
We excused her,
did
yeah.
excuse, yeah.
Okay. No, I didn't mean it that way. Somebody said you were gonna be here a little
He
later.
said there's no excuse for you, sir.
I do. I didn't mean
Any
it.
other new business, council?
I didn't get out of a deposition, so I
I
have to
make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
If you can give that to Ray.
Dosa, second. All those in favor, please signify by saying
Okay.
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Meeting is adjourned.